Parasite the Grey is the best live-action anime adaptation, and I'm not saying that lightly. You see, every single live-action anime adaptation runs into this one specific question that's like an insurmountable wall. Why should I watch this over the anime? And the answer is, you shouldn't, because the anime is always better than the live-action anime adaptation. Even some of the ones that are good, that I enjoyed, are not better than their anime counterparts. However, Parasite the Grey circumvents this problem by being an original story set within the same universe as Parasite. So now that nitpick part of your brain that's like, oh, they cut out that part of the story, I really like that, I wish that was in there, or, oh, this doesn't look as cool because it's in live action now, because they're redoing this part of the story that worked only because it was in... Nope! None of that's there anymore. You can't make those complaints because it's a new story. You haven't seen it before. It's just in the universe of something that you like. So now, you've got nothing to complain about. You can't be like, well, that didn't happen in the... Well, I haven't seen this story, so, I guess I can't... All right, I'll shut up now. That's what happens. That part of your brain that tries to get you upset because things are changed and different and not as good as the way they were before, it's not active anymore because the show is brand new. And I think that's absolutely perfect. Because now, new fans who have never heard of Parasite before have a new gateway to get into the franchise, and old fans who've either read it or seen the anime or both can now go into something new and experience a new story set in a universe that they already love. It's perfect. You pull in all of the fans and unify them in a new way instead of adapting something that is going to cause contention amongst the fan bases, because you're either going to have the new fans that like it and are like, I don't understand why people are complaining about it. And you're going to have the old fans that are like, it's not good in comparison to the animated versions, so why are you watching it? And then also the old fans who like so it just causes this whole weird thing where everybody's yelling at each other for different reasons, and it's annoying. It's annoying, and I don't like it. This is just good. There's nothing for anybody to complain about. It's just good. So, if you don't know what Parasite is as a whole, and you don't know what the series is, I will enlighten you very quickly. So, Parasite the Grey focuses on the story of Jung Soo-in. She is a Korean woman that is a supermarket cashier. And one night, after being brutally attacked, she's on the verge of death, and a parasite of unknown origin merges with her body. But something ends up going wrong because of her injuries, and now Soo-in and the parasite that would come to be called Heidi now must coexist within the same body. However, things are not that simple, because there are other parasites like Heidi that have fully taken control of their human hosts and are now, they're cannibals. They have a thing for eating other humans because it's just their natural instinct. And they want to continue doing that. However, Heidi, being a mutant of both human and parasite, is an abomination to them, and they want to kill her. And on the human side of things, humanity has created a task force to hunt down these parasitic monsters because, they're running around killing people. So now, Soo-in and Heidi are both being hunted by their own species respectively, and they have to fight for their own survival. And that is an awesome premise for a series. And it works great in regards to fans of the original series because it ends up doing things that are different than what the original series took on. It has different themes. Even the way that the main characters Heidi and Soo-in are bonded to each other is completely different than how the main characters of the original series were bonded to each other, which I think is really cool. It's an interesting take on it because if you've seen the original Parasite, you know that the main character Shinichi and his parasite Migi were bonded because Migi was in Shinichi's right arm. But in Parasite the Grey, Soo-in and Heidi are both bonded within the brain. So instead of the two of them being able to communicate with each other, they swap personalities, essentially, as they use a reference to the show to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They swap places between the monster and the human. And I think that's a really unique and interesting way to take the story. It's great. I loved it. It's perfect. As well as the fact the story deals with a lot of these interesting themes, such as the main theme of the show being loneliness, not having a place in the world and not having people that care about you and want you to be a part of their family. Every single character in the show is someone who's lost their family. They've lost their sense of home, and you're seeing how that affects them in both negative and positive ways. You see the detective that's in charge of the Parasite Task Force Team Grey. She lost her husband, and now she's thrown herself completely into her work, which it has turned her into this badass parasite hunting machine. But you know it stems from the fact that she feels lonely, that she lost the person that she loved dearest and most to her heart. The main character, Soo-in, was abused as a child and had to call the cops on her own father to get out of the situation. And people kind of looked at her cross-eyed because she turned her own father into the police, but no one ever really cared to ask why she had to do it, and it left her alone, especially since her own mother turned her back on her after running away from her abusive relationship with her husband, Soo-in's father. I almost messed that up there, but I think I got it right. Then you have Soo-in's best friend, who was a gangster who was betrayed by his own gang, and now he's out on the run by himself, and his own family has been turned into parasites, so now he doesn't have anyone left either. Every single character in this series focuses on what it means to be lonely in the multiple different ways it is, and how you have to overcome that loneliness to become better, to survive. That is such a strong premise, and it's carried throughout this entire show that keeps you very invested. To be honest, as much as I really want to go in depth with the show, I think it's so good that you should probably just watch it for yourself, so I'm going to try and keep the spoilers to this at a minimum, and I'm probably not really going to talk much about the story anymore from this point on. But something I do want to talk about is the special effects. So, parasites look like this in the anime. They come in various different forms, but more or less they kind of look like that, with like the the heads coming out and everything, and the blades and stuff like that. That's what they look like. And I think they translated that really well into the live action series, because these fights like this look absolutely awesome. I think they're really cool. Sure, they don't have the same level of speed as, the animation does, with like the blurred lines and everything like that you could see in like animated fights, but it still looked fantastic in my personal opinion, and I thought it looked awesome. Now, I will admit, there is one nitpick that I can say between the anime and the live-action series. And that is, in the anime, they established that parasites' blade attacks can move at such a speed that normal humans can't dodge them. And it's like a big point in the series that the main character of the original is capable of doing that because of something that happens to him. However, in this series, people are just able to, combat roll out of the way of their attacks, which is fine to me. It's not that big of a nitpick. It's just one of those things that I noticed when I finished The Grey, and then I went back and watched Parasite the Maxim, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't remember that when I watched The Grey, but now I'm rewatching this and they brought it up. It's not that big of an issue, if I'm being perfectly honest. You could also attribute it to, different humans have higher, reaction times than other humans. So, just stating that, humans can't dodge it, it's not all of them. There's billions of people, so obviously everyone has different reaction times and so on and so forth. And it's not like a maximum amount. It's mainly just the commander of Team Grey that's capable of really dodging these attacks and stuff like that. So it's nothing crazy. It's just something that I picked up on as I was watching it. But the main point of what I wanted to bring up is that the special effects looked really good in the show. I really love the way the show looked. It is very dark and grungy, which grungy? That's not even a word. I meant to say grungy, which also isn't really a word, I don't think. No, grunge is. I think grungy is... You get my point. It's got a gritty look to it. There we go. That's an actual word. It's got a gritty vibe to it that establishes the whole tone of loneliness. It makes you feel cold and empty inside. And I really enjoy that. And I like seeing the relationship between Heidi and Soo-in bond, especially in regards to the acting of the series, because the actress who plays Jung Soo-in is one person, obviously. However, Heidi and Soo-in act completely different to each other. Parasites are very logical and cold beings that focus on doing the most optimal thing for their survival. Meanwhile, Soo-in is a human who's flawed and has all these different personality issues. So the two of them switch positions in conversations, and it's awesome to see. Sometimes mid-conversation they'll switch, and you'll have Soo-in who's talking very human and very expressive, and then it'll switch to Heidi, and you're like, oh, okay, that was really cool. I like how you're able to just switch off like that, and you just have this cold and calculated demeanor now. That's really cool. I like seeing that a lot. She definitely did a great performance, as well as her detective friend who saved her from her father's abuse. He was also really good. He was probably, I think, one of the best actors in the entire show, for reasons that I can't explain because it would be spoilers. but just know he gives a really good performance, and I really enjoyed seeing what he did. I also like the fact that, I forgot to mention this, his partner, he has a very interesting aspect of showing what it's like to still be lonely even if you're in a family. All the other characters that I mentioned before, they lost their family in some way, shape, or form, and that's how loneliness affects them. But his character is actually the opposite. He's someone who feels alone in regards to having his own family because his own wife kind of resents him for the status that he has them in their life. He's a police officer. He makes like a certain amount of income, and she kind of always resented him for that because she wants to be in a higher status in life. And this makes him feel isolated within his own household. And I think that's really cool. Just had to bring that back to that whole loneliness aspect of the show because I remembered his character mid-conversation. This isn't scripted. I'm just giving you my own personal opinion as I'm going through all of this, and it just popped into my head. But yeah, honestly, I highly recommend Parasite the Grey. I don't really want to go into any more spoilers or anything more in-depth with the series because I want you to watch it for yourself. It's a very good series. I would argue it's just as good as the original series, tackling different story beats and themes. I absolutely loved it. If you're someone who doesn't like reading subtitles, you prefer things in English, Netflix does have a dubbed over an English version because something I did not mention earlier is that the show is a Korean show. So everything is, filmed and recorded in Korean and it has English subtitles. However, you can switch to the English dub if, that's something that you want, and it'll be completely dubbed over for you. Now, personally, I prefer just watching stuff in subbed, especially when it's coming from another language because, lip syncing bothers me. So, whenever I see a character talking and it doesn't match with what I'm hearing, it just looks weird to me. So, that's just a personal thing on my part. But like I said, it's got, the English dub, if that bothers you. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say. Definitely go and check out Parasite the Grey. I absolutely loved it. I truly believe it's the best live-action adaptation because, like I said at the beginning of this video, circumvents that whole issue of, why should I watch this over the anime? Because it's a new story. It's something unique that could pull you into the franchise. If you're someone who's seen the original, you'll enjoy it extensively because it's something brand new that brings you back to a universe that you know. And then, like me, if you've seen the original anime, you can go back and watch Parasite the Maxim. If you're someone who's new to the series, go ahead, go watch Parasite the Maxim. It's also great. I highly recommend both series. So, actually, before I go, if you don't want to hear this will be 100% be spoilers. I just want to talk about this because I thought it was really cool. So, if you don't want any spoilers for anything in the series, because this will be the last scene of the show that I'm talking about, leave now. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video, so that'd be cool. But if you're still around, then I'm going to talk about it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the final scene of Parasite the Grey has Shinichi Izumi show up, who, is the protagonist of Parasite the Maxim. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was wondering if he was going to show up in the show in any kind of capacity, but I figured he probably wouldn't because the show takes place in a completely different country. And I'm like, oh, well, these shows kind of take, more or less parallel to each other because Parasite the Grey takes place a few months after the beginning of Parasite the Maxim, which this series starts the same day as that when the parasites fall to Earth. So it starts that day and then the rest of the story takes place months later, which I didn't really take into consideration it being a sequel to the original Parasite, essentially saying that those few months that passed are when Parasite the Maxim happened and now the Grey is happening after those events happened, and then Shinichi shows up, now being a high school graduate, to Korea as an investigative journalist. I thought that was really cool. I like the fact that he shows up, and then, he extends Migi to, shake someone's hand, and, it holds the shot. And I was just like, all right, cool. All right, that was a good cameo at the end. And honestly, they could just leave it at that as, a fun little cameo. I don't know if they have any plans for a second season. I'm definitely down to watch a second season of Parasite the Grey. But if not, it's a solid season. It wraps up its story all in one go. And the, little cameo at the end of Shinichi trying to join Team Grey to help them out is pretty cool. I don't know if he's really trying to join Team Grey or he's just there to, give them some information because he is the expert on parasites, as they say. So, yeah, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to talk about that. So, hope you liked my video. Thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, please, like, comment, subscribe, follow my socials down in the description below. Man, I can't talk. And remember, folks, you're innocent till proven villainous, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.